Welcome back to my channel. Did you know that Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world? Today, we're diving into why Islam is so fascinating. I promise to keep this content full of objective information. Let's begin our journey into understanding Islam. As of 2024, Islam has nearly 2 billion followers, accounting for more than 24% of the world's population. This makes it the second most followed religion globally. Muslims form the majority in 49 countries, including Algeria, Morocco, Bangladesh, Sudan, Kyrgyzstan, and Malaysia. Geographically, Muslims are predominantly settled in the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and North Africa regions. Here's a surprising fact. Although Islam originated in the territory of today's Saudi Arabia, today, only about 20% of Muslims are of Arab nationality. This dispels the common misconception that all Arabs are Muslims and all Muslims are Arabs. Some people are confused about the relationship between the religion of Islam and the ethnic identity of Muslims. Arab and Muslim are not synonymous terms. Muslims are followers of the religion of Islam. Arabs are an ethno-linguistic group of people, most of whom are Muslim in religion, but many of whom are not. Approximately 80% of Muslims are not Arab, coming from African, European, and Far Eastern backgrounds. Indonesia is the country with the largest Muslim population, with Muslims comprising approximately 87% of its 225 million people. However, when looking at the collective number of Muslims, India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh together account for about 30% of the global Muslim population. Islam, unlike Christianity or Judaism, was not named after a person or a tribe, but rather a culture of behavior. The word Islam means to submission, surrender to God, and Muslims are those who submit to God's will. The exact meaning of Islam is peace and security. The Arabic word for peace, salam, and the Hebrew word shalom share the same root. Thus, submission and obedience to God are believed to bring peace. Most historians agree that Islam originated in 7th century Arabia with the Prophet Muhammad. However, Muslims also view this time as reverting to the original faith passed down by Abrahamic prophets. Before delving into Muhammad's story, it's important to recognize that accounts of his life are diverse and sometimes controversial. Did you know that Muhammad's journey began with a profound personal tragedy? Muhammad was born in 570 in Mecca, Arabia. Orphaned at a young age, he grew up under the guardianship of his uncle. At that time, Arabs worshipped hundreds of different gods. Muhammad was born into the Quraysh tribe, which guarded the Kaaba in Mecca, a building that housed statues of various Arab gods. This tribe gained significant wealth by charging people to visit the Kaaba. From an early age, Muhammad was deeply religious. He was disturbed by the poverty, injustice, brutal wars, and widespread discrimination against women and orphans he saw around him. He was particularly offended by the rich exploiting the poor and the religious holidays that had turned into extravagant parties increasingly devoted to idolatry. Instead of participating in these festivities, Muhammad would retreat to a cave to pray. What happened next would change the course of history. During one of these solitary prayers in 610 AD, the then 40-year-old Muhammad was visited by the archangel Gabriel, Jibril in Arabic. Gabriel told Muhammad that there is one God and that he was God's messenger. Muhammad began to receive revelations from God, which he recited to those around him. His followers wrote down these revelations, which were later compiled into the Quran, the holy book of Islam. Muhammad's teachings were revolutionary in tribal Arabia. He preached that Arabs have no superiority over non-Arabs, and that whites have no superiority over blacks. He also called for an end to the killing of infant girls, emphasizing that girls are just as much a blessing as boys. But what was the reaction to these radical ideas, and how did they transform the Arabian Peninsula and beyond? His teachings were considered very extreme and were not viewed favorably. In Mecca, he faced increasing opposition. But what truly fueled the animosity towards Muhammad was that his message of monotheism began to undermine the lucrative businesses built on idol worship. People paid large sums to visit the Kaaba, to worship the numerous idols housed there. The anger towards Muhammad soon turned violent. The most vulnerable were the slaves who converted to Islam. They often faced brutal torture for their newfound faith. Despite this, the Muslims did not retaliate. Muhammad and God forbade his followers from using violence. The Quran states that if anyone kills a person, it is as if they have destroyed all of mankind. After a decade of persecution, the Muslims fled with Muhammad to the city of Medina in 622 AD. This pivotal event marks the first year of the Islamic calendar. So, while we write 2024 according to the Gregorian calendar, in the Islamic calendar, it is the year 1445. Even in Medina, hostile Arabs continued to attack the Muslims. But then, God allegedly told Muhammad that they were now permitted to defend themselves by force. Muhammad also laid down some fundamental rules for fighting. They must not destroy farms or herds, harm women, the elderly, children, or the disabled, or harm animals, trees, or plants. They were to treat prisoners kindly and never force anyone to convert. These strict rules of war aimed to protect civilians. Muhammad said, "If a person shows no mercy, God will not show him mercy." By 630 AD, Muhammad entered Mecca with an army of 10,000 men. Their primary goal was to destroy the idols in the Kaaba. Just 2 years later, most of Arabia had converted to Islam and united under Muhammad. Tragically, on June 8, 632, Muhammad died. Abu Bakr, Muhammad's father-in-law, was chosen as the first Khalifa, or successor. This choice led to the division of Islam into its two main branches, Sunni and Shia. Oversimplified, Sunnis believe that Abu Bakr was the rightful successor, while Shias believe that Muhammad chose his son-in-law Ali as his rightful successor. Today, Sunnis make up about 80% of the entire Muslim community, while Shiites comprise about 10%. The remaining 10% belong to other Muslim schools. Over the next 1,500 years, Islam spread through empires and trade across the Middle East, Africa, Asia, and Europe. Intriguingly, it reached Spain and Southeast Asia through traders and America through black slaves. So, this is the story of Muhammad and Islam in a nutshell. But the journey of Islam didn't stop there. Let us discover how it continues to shape the world today and what exactly Muhammad preached. Islam may seem very complicated at first, but it can be broken down into a few basic beliefs. Just like other religions, Islam has its literature and dogmatics. Let's dive into the essence of Islam. The 5 pillars of Islam. Islam is built upon the 5 pillars that guide a Muslim's faith and practices. Let's break them down. Shahada, the declaration of faith. There is no God but God, and Muhammad is God's messenger, is a simple yet profound statement that underscores the essence of Islam. Salat, it means prayer. Practicing Muslims pray 5 times a day. The prayers are performed at dawn, noon, mid-afternoon, sunset, and night. Each prayer does not take more than a few minutes to perform. The Prophet Muhammad said, "Bilal, call the people to prayer. Let us be comforted by it." Each time performing wudu, or ritual washing, each prayer session begins with, "God is the greatest, Allahu Akbar," and involves specific movements such as standing, bowing, and kneeling. Muslims always pray facing Mecca, the direction known as the Qibla. Zakat. The original meaning of the word zakat is both purification and growth. Zakat is a charitable wealth tax of 2.5% of one's income, given cheerfully to orphans, the needy, strangers, beggars, to relatives, and to free slaves. This practice helps prevent the rich from exploiting the poor, as the Quran forbids interest-bearing loans, promoting wealth from honest work only. Saum. Saum means fasting during the holy month of Ramadan, from dawn to dusk. This fast includes abstaining from food, drink, smoking, and sexual relations. It is believed to benefit the body. Moreover, fasting fosters empathy for the poor. Ramadan ends with Eid, a festival where Muslims give extra zakat, share food, and celebrate with family and friends. Hajj. It is the pilgrimage to the Kaaba in Mecca, the holiest site in Islam. Every Muslim is expected to make this pilgrimage at least once in their lifetime. During Hajj, there is no distinction between rich and poor, race or nationality, emphasizing the unity of all Muslims. Today, more than 2 million people make the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca every year. These 5 pillars of Islam, Shahada, Salat, Zakat, Saum, and Hajj, form the foundation of a Muslim's faith and practices. Now, let us take a closer look at some of the core beliefs of Islam that every Muslim must accept. 1. Belief in Allah, in one God. He is God, the One, God, to whom the creatures turn for their needs. He begets not, nor was he begotten, and there is none like him. Did you know that Muslims, Christians, and Jews, the Abrahamic religions, worship the same God? Muslims call him Allah, which simply means God in Arabic. Interestingly, Arabic-speaking Christians also use the term Allah or Yahweh. Jews often refer to God with adjectives like Lord or Almighty. But here's a fascinating fact. The original name of God, Yahweh, is traditionally unpronounceable. Muslims believe that God is the creator of the universe, an omniscient, omnipotent, merciful, loving, and genderless being. Islam strongly emphasizes that there is only one God, and worshiping anything else, be it an idol, money, or power, is considered the greatest sin. We will take a closer look at the major sins later. Unlike many religions, Islam has no priests. Muslims are encouraged to have a direct, personal relationship with God. According to the Quran, God created the world in 6 days and made Adam and Eve from the same material as the earth, signifying that humanity comes from a single soul. Like Judaism, Islam completely forbids making representations of God, such as paintings or statues. The Quran says, "He is not like anything you can imagine." 2. Belief in the angels. In Islam, the belief in angels is a fundamental aspect of faith, serving as one of the main pillars of Iman, faith. Angels are considered to be celestial beings created from light who act as obedient servants of Allah, carrying out His divine will without error or defiance. They are invisible to the human eye, but are believed to be omnipresent, engaging in various tasks such as delivering revelations to the prophets, recording the deeds of individuals, and offering protection and guidance to believers. Among the most well-known angels in Islam are Jibril, Gabriel, who conveyed the Quran to Prophet Muhammad, and Michael, who is responsible for providing sustenance to bodies and souls. This belief underscores the interconnectedness of the physical and spiritual realms in Islamic theology, emphasizing the divine orchestration and supervision over the universe. Later in the series, there will be a more detailed video about angels. 3. Belief in God's revealed books. Muhammad claimed he did not preach anything new. He saw Islam as the original religion of mankind. He viewed his role as a prophet to remind people of God and guide them back to the right path. Muslims hold the belief that God bestowed books upon his messengers as evidence for humanity and as a source of guidance. Among these divine scriptures is the Quran, revealed by God to the Prophet Muhammad. Muslims regard the Jewish Torah and the Christian Gospel as divine books sent by God. This shared reverence is why Muslims, along with Jews and Christians, refer to themselves as people of the book. The key difference is that Muslims believe Muhammad is the last prophet, and the Quran is the final divine book. Muhammad is not the father of any one of your men, but he is the messenger of God and the last of the prophets. The Quran will be discussed in more detail later in the video. 4. Belief in the prophets and messengers of God. But did you know that Muhammad is not the only prophet in Islam? Muslims also recognize prophets from Judaism and Christianity, including Abraham, Moses, Noah, and Jesus. Moses and Noah are particularly significant in Islam, second only to Muhammad. In Islam, all prophets are seen as simple, imperfect people who carry an important message: the call for peace, the return to worshiping God, and a warning about the Day of Judgment. 5. Belief in the Day of Judgment. According to Muslims, God created the universe with a predetermined end. One day, Judgment Day will arrive, and everyone who ever lived will be resurrected to face God's judgment. Islam teaches that you do not earn your way to heaven, which some Christian theologians argue. Salvation in Islam is based on believing in and submitting to God alone. Leading a righteous life and avoiding sin are signs of your faith, not ways to earn salvation. But here's the dramatic part. After the resurrection, everyone must cross a bridge over the fire of hell. For the righteous, the bridge is wide and flat, allowing them to easily cross above the flames. For sinners, however, the bridge becomes razor sharp, and they fall into hell, a place of fire, suffering, and misery. In contrast, heaven is depicted as a beautiful garden with rivers of milk and honey, where everyone is young, healthy, and reunited with their families, and is already subscribed to the Quo Vadis channel. In the end, Most people who initially go to hell will eventually be granted entry into heaven after serving their sentence, reflecting God's ultimate mercy. Only the worst of sinners remain in hell indefinitely. But what happens if we were not good enough for heaven or bad enough for hell? Well, then we might find ourselves in a place between heaven and hell called the heights. From here, we will be able to see hell and fear it, as well as see heaven and long for it. We remain there until we fully grasp the possibility of almost ending up in hell. Eventually, our understanding leads us to paradise. 6. Belief in the divine decree. This is the belief that everything is governed by divine decree, namely that whatever happens in one's life is preordained. This concept does not negate the concept of free will. Since humans do not have prior knowledge of God's plans, they do have freedom of choice. Islam clearly distinguishes between right and wrong. Islamic law, drawn from the teachings found in the Quran and the traditions of Prophet Muhammad, outlines rules and guidelines regarding actions, ethics, and interpersonal relationships. These include virtues such as charity, honesty, compassion, and self-control, which Muslims strive to uphold, contrasting with vices like dishonesty, violence, greed, jealousy, gossip, and promiscuity, which are strongly condemned. While Islam does not have a specific set like the 10 Commandments or the 7 deadly sins, it offers numerous verses from the Quran and teachings from the Prophet that outline a comprehensive framework of virtues and vices for Muslims to follow. The major sins in Islam are committing idolatry, stealing from an orphan, committing adultery or fornication, disobeying parents, collecting interest on investments, accusing a chaste woman falsely, giving false testimony, committing murder or suicide, committing infanticide, enslaving a free person, engaging in slander and gossip. The virtuous deeds in Islam are speaking the truth, being kind to the family, honoring parents, giving in charity, feeding the poor, fighting against injustice, freeing slaves, returning borrowed property, studying and learning, being kind to animals. Sacred texts. The Quran is the holy book of Islam, meaning to recite or say aloud. Muslims believe it is the word of God, to be read authentically in Arabic. The Quran consists of approximately 600 pages, divided into 114 chapters called surahs, each further divided into numbered verses or ayahs. This system allows any quote from the Quran to be precisely located using the surah and ayat numbers, much like chapters and verses in the Bible. Unlike many other religious texts, the Quran is not arranged in a narrative structure. Instead, its chapters are ordered by length, with the longest chapters at the beginning. This means the Quran's subject matter and narratives jump around, lacking a coherent structure that can be easily interpreted. Alongside the Quran, the Sunnah and Hadith are key components of Islamic teaching. The Sunnah refers to the practices and examples set by the Prophet Muhammad, while the Hadith includes Muhammad's actions and sayings, offering practical guidance on being a good Muslim. Hadiths were transmitted orally before being written down, leading to variations in authenticity. They are categorized as strong, authentic, or weak, less authentic. For example, a hadith encouraging forgiveness aligns with Muhammad's teachings and is considered strong, while the one about 72 virgins in heaven is seen as weak and widely regarded as a myth. Halal and Haram. Do's and don'ts. What exactly does halal mean? In Arabic, halal simply means permitted or lawful. If something is halal, it means that Muslims can use it, eat it, etc. So, when you see halal in a product description, you can buy it and eat it without guilt. But what about foods that aren't halal, but haram or prohibited? Muslims are forbidden from eating certain foods such as pork, donkey, and animals with fangs. Blood and carrion are also banned. Additionally, Muslims cannot drink any alcoholic beverages. Why? Because Islamic teachings state that alcohol has a detrimental effect on the human body, health, and society. Here's an interesting fact. The word alcohol itself comes from the Arabic al-kul. When it comes to meat, for it to be halal, the animal must not suffer before it is slaughtered. The slaughter must be quick and painless, with the name of God recited during the process to sanctify the meat. It's believed that mentioning God's name calms the animals and reduces their pain. Moreover, animals must not see or hear their comrades being killed or see the blade until the last moment. This is crucial because animal cruelty is expressly prohibited and considered a serious sin according to the Quran. Muhammad said, "A good deed done to an animal is as meritorious as a good deed done to a human, while cruelty to an animal is as bad as cruelty to a human." Islam also forbids all forms of gambling and games of chance. The Law of Sharia. You may have heard of Sharia, but what does it mean? The word Sharia means way or path, symbolizing a path that leads believers to the water of life. In the Quran, Sharia is mentioned 3 times, referring to the way a Muslim should live to be acceptable in the eyes of God. It refers to the divine law or the moral and ethical code that Muslims are expected to live by. Sharia encompasses a wide range of guidelines and principles, covering both personal conduct and the legal framework for the Islamic community. There's a common misconception that Sharia is just a simple law. In reality, it's more of a lifestyle that encompasses all areas of life for devout Muslims. Sharia covers everything from personal matters to business contracts, and from the importance of prayer and fasting to how to treat neighbors, tell the truth, marry, and divorce. It's a practical guide for everyday living, with precise rules on how Muslims should conduct themselves. Contrary to what some may believe, the Quran contains relatively few specific laws. Instead, it provides general principles, leaving much to interpretation. Public administration and state legislation, according to Muslims, should be based on Sharia. Scholars of the Quran have determined that the purpose of Sharia is to protect life, property, family, faith, and reason. For centuries, scholars have interpreted Sharia through the Quran, Hadith, and reasoning, creating a body of legal decisions known as fiqh. Fiqh is an adaptation of sacred texts in a legal context, constantly evolving to meet the needs of the time. This means that different Muslim communities might interpret Sharia differently, resulting in their versions of fiqh. Interestingly, while countries like Saudi Arabia promote a version of Sharia that includes harsh punishments, these practices are not universally representative of Sharia's diverse interpretations. Such actions are often viewed as anti-religious and deeply inhumane by many Muslims. Most Muslims do not support the actions of those who use Sharia to justify violence or oppression. Instead, many Muslims believe that Sharia's true intent is to promote justice, mercy, and the welfare of the community. On the flip side, there are organizations today that use Sharia to promote gender equality and social justice. This highlights that Sharia, when correctly interpreted, can be a force for development, learning, and peaceful coexistence. As we wrap up, it's important to seek correct and adequate information about Sharia and Islamic practices. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Islam. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and let me know what topics you'd like to see covered next. Stay curious, stay brave, and see you next time.